When I discover who I am, I'll be free.
During Black History Month, the critically acclaimed documentaries produced by Desert Rose Production really bloom right here on Clark County Television. Local filmmaker Stan Armstrong is a creative genius behind Invisible Las Vegas Part 1 and 2. These two films go in-depth and explore the history of segregation in the Valley and issues facing West Las Vegas and the African-American community.
But perhaps no place did fallout from desegregation explode to the degree that it did than in Las Vegas in 1971.
The Rancho High School riots retells the story of a tumultuous era from 1967 to 1973, when racial tension simmered over into violence at the North Las Vegas school. Stan, how did you get started? What was the first documentary you've done locally here, and why?
My dad and mom were really into documenting their work in San Francisco and when they were in Louisiana during that time, during the Great Depression. And that really sparked my interest as a kid, looking at the images and the photos that they had. I mean, I just loved it, and I kept questioning them. You know, what was this time period about, and what was this time period about? So this is the thing that really made me a documentary filmmaker.
Sure. And so which did you start with here locally?
Locally here it was Invisible Las Vegas Part 1. You guys have been showing that for quite some time, and thank you. It's dear to me. We did it back, I believe, in 2006. And once again, you know, last time you and I spoke, I think I told you that we lost so many people, you know, during that time that I, you know, interviewed them. And I'm just so happy that I got a chance to document them, you know, before they passed away, you know, especially for future generations out there.
And as our community constantly changes and people are coming all the time,
it keeps changing all the time.
That people don't even realize that history wasn't that long ago, and they're learning things about our community.
Well, it's interesting because I consider myself a time detective. You know, what happened 10 years ago, you know, we forget. And, you know, me documenting the Rancho High School riots and, you know, and Jim Crow Las Vegas, and even the history of Native Americans that made this valley some 150 years ago before, you know, European settlers even came into, you know, to this valley.
Your more current work we'll be showing during Black History Month. Why is it important? Why is it vital to see these movies at this time, or it should be any time, perhaps?
Well, I think Black History Month eventually will become a part of our everyday history. You know, I would love it if, you know, if TV stations could show my work, you know, all the time instead of just Black History Month, because Black History Month is all of our month. You know, I mean, we shouldn't have just Black History Month or, you know, Irish American, you know, Day. It should be incorporated into, you know, into our American system.
Perhaps an unfair question, but what's your favorite, your own personal favorite?
Probably well, you know, I was a big Civil War geek. I still am after, of course, the Ken Burns, you know, 10-part series of the Civil War. I had to do my, you know, my own digging, you know, about different stories about that time and era. But probably the Moulin Rouge. Because the Moulin Rouge was, you know, a historical point here in the valley where people just really came here in 1955 to jockey for certain, you know, social positions. And the Moulin Rouge was a shining star, you know, hotel and casino at that time.
What would you like to see the Moulin Rouge become?
Probably a historical center. You know, we've gone past that. 1955 was one day, but you know, it's a monument there. Or it should be a monument, or you know, something. But that day and time is gone, and we should learn about it through films, through books, and never forget that time and era, what these people had to go through, both black and white.
What stories are you working on, or what would you like to work on? What's a topic or a subject you would just love to dig
Randy,
into?
thank you for that question. You know, right now we're doing the history of Woodlawn Cemetery. and that cemetery's been there since 1915, and so many different people and ethnic groups are buried there, from Civil War, soldiers to, different sections, from the colored section to the Jewish section. It's a fascinating, find here in Las Vegas to study historical cemeteries. And we're also doing one on the history of Las Vegas during World War II. And I'm really looking forward to, to doing this. So much happened during that time and era. And basically Las Vegas, World War II made Las Vegas.
Obviously from munitions and things that were going on.
From the Nellis gunnery range, where at that time B-17s were just flying all over the valley, to once again the not Nellis Air Force Base, but the Boulder City, where they had 4 or 5 machine gun nests there, waiting for possibly a Japanese invasion. The Japanese fleet could have knocked out so many states here for just bombing Hoover Dam. And Clark Gable played an important part, him and Carol Lombard here, when her plane hit Mount Potosi. She was on a war bond drive. So, there's a lot of different nuggets here. And I'm really excited about this World War II documentary. What was happening here in Las Vegas, and what was happening in Germany, what was happening in Europe, what was happening in France, what was happening in England and Tokyo, and what was happening here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Social growth at that time. So that's what I'm working on.
Back about 30 years ago, there was a book called I Dream a World, and it was portraits of African American women in America. And I always struck myself as like, someday I want to do this in Las Vegas, because I think there's so many unique people, and especially when you have like Joe Neal and Ruby Duncan and Helen Toland, who were kind of those trailblazers in the 70s. And my only regret, I wish I would have started doing this 40 years ago.
Throughout Black History Month, 22 portraits of prominent local African American leaders will be on display at the Government Center Rotunda Gallery. The stunning black and white photos and the narratives that accompany them are the work of photographer Jeff Scheid and Erica Vittel-Lazar, a creative writing professor at the College of Southern Nevada. The pair's teamwork result in this essential exhibition called Obsidian and Neon, Building Black Life and Identity in Las Vegas.
I was able to spend meaningful time with each of these subjects, sat on the couch in Senator Joe Neal's home for about 3.5, 4 hours, just letting history and the force of that personality, the range of his accomplishments just wash over me. I think what was most challenging to sit down with each of these individuals, like Mother Helen Toland, was to hear the range of her life, the travails, that force of will that brought her through, and again, to distill all of that.
The Rotunda Gallery is open Monday to Friday from 8 to 5, and the Obsidian and Neon exhibition will run through March 8th.
I've seen you pull out kids in the community that have never been near a stage.
Moving from still photos to real life, Commissioner Lawrence Weekly and 4 living legends discussed a wide range of topics pertaining to race and the African American experience in Las Vegas. The roundtable discussion took place at the Left of Center Gallery, which operates under the guidance of Vicki Richardson. Her goal is to make art accessible to everyone, not just gallery or museum visitors.
I just think it's my responsibility to remind people that, that art is going on in our community every day, every month, of the year, and that they should really take advantage of bringing that art into their classrooms or into their discussions out in the community all the time, because it's just a way, another way of connecting.
This roundtable discussion and the informative documentaries will be shown many times during February. Visit clarkcountynv.gov to view the CCTV schedule.